Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, traders. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're all well, and I hope you're all enjoying your weekend. Pips of Persia here, coming to you with another weekly market outlook video, preparing you for the trading week of 29th of April 2019 to 5th of May 2019. Again, as usual, before we get started, disclaimers. These setups are purely for educational purposes and by no means require any action. Your capital is at risk, therefore never risk more than what you are willing to lose. Past profits do not guarantee future results. From the pairs that I'll be analyzing, goes without saying, please make sure to take notes, please make sure to take screenshots of the analysis that you agree with. If you disagree with the analysis in any way, please stick to your own analysis. There's no need to overrule your analysis by my analysis. Okay, that's the best way for you to learn, to stick with your own analysis. Make sure to join my Telegram channel as well. I'll leave the link in the description, or just search Pips of Persia on Telegram and it should come up. I will be sending updates of the pairs that I'll be analyzing to my Telegram, and if any pair I do not cover in the analysis in this video today, I will be sending it on my Telegram. Now, before we actually have a look at some currency pairs, let's have a look at the financial calendar for next week. We can see we do have some bank holiday towards the midweek. More importantly, I am looking at the GBP news on Thursday and the US dollar news on Friday. So next week will be NFP week. It will be non-farm payroll, the first Friday of the month. As you can see, we do have the non-farm news, high impact news for US dollar. So this will be affecting the US dollar quite big. We do have some high impact news, US dollar news on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And make sure to stay on top of the news, for the whole week, especially for your US dollar pairs. I have to mention that this New Zealand dollar news over here as well, this will be affecting the Australian dollar pairs as well. I'll go through that in the video a little bit later, and so will this one. I will go through that in the video a little bit later, but 100% keep an eye on the news, because we have not only quite a few high impact news, we have important high impact news coming out. Inflation reports for pound, NFP obviously on Friday for US dollar, unemployment rates for New Zealand dollar. So these will be shifting the market quite quickly. Before actually I jump into analyzing some pairs, I would like to share the weighted indexes of a few of the currencies that I have been looking at. So Australian dollar, we've been speaking about the bearish potential move for Australian dollar for about a couple weeks now, and we got that last week. Very beautiful move down for Australian dollar and across the pairs. It was quite nice to catch Euro AUD and GBP AUD to the upside, and a few of other Australian dollar pairs as well. We still haven't kind of come down to a key level for Australian dollar weighted index, so I would be remaining bearish on Australian dollar for now. I do believe that we can actually tap off this reversal zone kind of drawn over here. That's kind of the first zone that I believe some reversals can take place at. If we happen to break below that zone, then the second zone I'll be looking at would be this zone down here. Okay, so two zones. I do believe that Australian dollar can drop a little bit. Potentially will end up giving us some sort of a pullback during the week, but in general, it should continue to the downside. Now, I mentioned the New Zealand dollar news that would affect Australian dollar. There's a positive correlation between the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. Meaning what? Meaning if this news comes out for New Zealand dollar and is a bad news for New Zealand dollar, expect Australian dollar to lose strength as well. Okay, last week when we had high impact news for Australian dollar, for those of you who were trading Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar pairs, you saw that there was a big move on New Zealand dollar pairs as well, even though there wasn't any high impact news for New Zealand dollar in itself. Therefore, it's important to keep on top of the New Zealand dollar news if you're trading Australian dollar as well. Canadian dollar weighted index on a 4-hour time frame. I can see this inverted head and shoulder formation very clearly. On a daily time frame, I have this trend line kind of drawn over here, And what I can see is we've actually broken above this trend line and indeed came back down for the retest of the trend line. Okay, on a lower time frame, we'd be able to see this clearly. We broke above the trend line, we came back down for the retest of said trend line. So in my opinion, Canadian dollar, although we're getting a lot of long wicks over here, in general, it's likely to gain some strength. In general, it's likely to gain some strength. We could potentially get another move down to some of the reversal zones over here or over here, then the major move to the upside to start. But because of the formation that we have over here, the inverted head and shoulder, on a little bit larger time frame and a longer term trading, I would expect Canadian dollar to go bullish. For euro as well, it's an interesting kind of analysis for euro in itself, because we are currently within this kind of daily range. Not even range, the kind of major reversal area on a daily time frame, where we've seen reactions over here, over here, over here, over here. We finally broke through, but I ended up trading above the zone again. What I can see on a lower time frame now is hold on, let me go back to daily actually and analyze it from here. On a daily time frame, what I can see is this move to the upside over here gave us a retracement back down to exactly 61.8. Okay, the retracement down actually tapped off 61.8 to perfection, and we are actually kind of, it looks like we are forming this inverted head and shoulder formation for euro for a potential bullish momentum for euro. Okay, on a lower time frame such as a daily or 4 hour, we'd be able to see this clearly. However, on a weekly time frame, what I can see for euro is a clear evening star formation over here. Okay, series of long wicks over there, a nice shooting star closure over here. So on a higher time frame, I'm actually going to be remaining very, very bearish on euro. So what's the conclusion here? Because we have indeed tapped off a key zone within our Fibonacci, what I expect to happen is for us to get a little pullback for euro, but the continuation to the downside to continue after that. Okay. Let's have another look over here. We don't really have any sort of high impact news for euro Monday onwards. But in terms of technicals, that's what I'll be expecting. A potential move to the upside and the continuation to the downside. If there is absolutely no sign on a daily or a weekly time frame that we are going to be slowing down when the market makes its way up, then our whole attitude can change towards euro. But the major zone for a potential bullish euro would be that zone over here. That zone needs to be broken to the upside and retested for me to remain bullish on euro. Now let's jump into the currency pairs. Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar on a 8-hour time frame, if I'm not mistaken. I was looking at it. Yeah, on an 8-hour time frame, what I can see for Australian dollar versus Canadian dollar is the last 16 hours of the trading week. We actually ended up getting a tweezer top formation over there, and we closed as a bearish engulfing candle. That's very, very strong indication for a sell, especially that being a tap off, very clean tap off of the 61.8 as well. So I believe Australian dollar versus Canadian dollar is going to be continuing its momentum to the downside, very clear momentum to the downside. However, in terms of where can we actually be entering Australian dollar versus Canadian dollar, for me to be able to enter this pair as a potential sell, I need to see some sort of a pullback to the upside. Okay, I need to see some sort of a pullback to the upside. Let's say maybe even this zone that we actually broke through over here to be retested again. But for me to be able to enter this, I need to get some sort of a pullback, and at any given pullback, I would be willing to enter sell positions. Australian dollar versus a New Zealand dollar. I do believe we still have some room to fall for Australian dollar versus a New Zealand dollar, but in general, it looks like we are actually forming some sort of a inverted head and shoulder formation over here. Okay, on a 4-hour time frame, I am indeed in a sell for Australian dollar versus New Zealand dollar currently. I'm holding it open over the weekend. I'm expecting the 61.8 region to be tapped off for this currency pair, especially seeing how 61.8 is this previous reversal zone over here. So I expect 61.8 to be tapped off, as well as it being this previous reversal zone for a potential move to the upside, provided we don't show any reaction to the 61.8 level, as in when it comes to reach the 61.8 level, we don't get any sign of a bullish reversal signal. And by sign, I mean, let's say a bullish engulfing, let's say a hammer formation, a morning star formation, any of these formations. If I don't get any of these, I would not be entering buy positions. But the technicals look really good to me. Previous reversal zone as well as a fib level. Australian dollar versus the US dollar. On a 4-hour time frame, we actually ended up closing as an evening star formation over there. Okay, very clear evening star formation over there. Weekly time frame is actually quite a powerful bearish candlestick as well, just suddenly pushing the market down when it tapped off that trend line over here. So I expect this bearish move to continue until we get to perhaps the low of this trend line minimum. For this kind of bearish move to happen, for me to be safe about taking sell signals, taking sell trades on this pair, I can go ahead and be a little bit risky, and let's say London session comes, I actually sell this buy market, put my stop loss above there and write it down. But a more kind of safe entry for this currency pair would be a break below this zone and a retest for a potential intraday short position. Okay, for a potential intraday short position, keep an eye on it. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like I would like to, I'll risk it and then go ahead and sell it. I mean, 30 pips is not too big of a stop loss for me to kind of worry about. But in terms of technicals, it looks very good to me. I just saw this kind of previous reversal zone. I just realized this kind of previous reversal zone where we got reactions over here got broken and retested as well. So I'm quite confident in Australian dollar versus US dollar continuing its move to the downside. Canadian dollar versus the Swiss franc. What I can see over here is a 1, 2 and a third touch of the trend line over here. Although this sudden move to the downside, if I'm not mistaken, that was news driven. Yes, it was for Canadian dollar last week. It did actually satisfy the trend line, the fib level, not only that, this previous reversal zone as well, where the market broke above it and it looks like it came back down for the retest. Now, the only downside is this kind of general formation over here is quite choppy. On a lower time frame, I can see that this is a clear flag formation for the continuation to the downside. But provided we get, and not only that, we do actually have this kind of head and shoulder formation over here as well. So how I'm going to be reacting to this pair, because as you can see, there's confirmations both for a buy and a sell, is the confirmations that we have for a potential buy over here are quite strong. Is the fib level and is this trend line over here. Okay. Not only that, on a higher time frame, when we look at it as well, not weekly, but let's say daily, 8 hour, 4 hour, there's no sort of confirmation, candlestick confirmations for a potential sell. So the way I would like to be trading this currency pair is for me to get a clean break above this zone over here. Clean break above this zone, a retest for the potential buy positions to come in. If the flag formation is to be satisfied for the move down, then I can be catching the buy positions a little bit later. But in general, I am going to, as I said, I'm a little bit bullish on Canadian dollar, so I will be remaining bullish on this pair as well. Euro versus Canadian dollar. Very, very strong weekly closure, if I'm not mistaken. Very strong weekly closure over here. We have an evening star. We have 3-pin formation, as you can see. Weekly shooting star formation over there as well. So definitely something that can continue its way down, especially because on a daily time frame we do have this normal head and shoulder formation. So this could indeed be a currency pair that we can actually write down for quite some time. Point is, when can we take some sell signals for this further sells, especially if you're not in the sell already? Depending on where the market reverses, which is usually, let's say, around Monday and Tuesday, where the market goes one direction, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday the market reverses, I would be looking at some fib levels for my entry. So provided this market, let's say Monday and Tuesday, doesn't break below here and it continues its way up, I will be looking at my 61 to 71 level to execute as a sell. If it continues down a little bit more, then I'll be adjusting my Fibonacci. But any sort of pullback for this currency pair as well, you can go ahead and execute some sell positions. Euro versus the Swiss franc. Again, this was shared on my Telegram, where we were looking at this daily kind of reversal. Actually, it was a weekly reversal zone where we got reactions over here, over here, over here, and a final reaction over there on a 4-hour time frame. When the market came within that range, we got a 4-hour divergence on our MACD, and we actually got an evening star formation or a shooting star formation over there. So this was actually shared on my Telegram. I hope you guys actually entered this. Indeed, this market has more room to fall. Therefore, I would like to see some sort of a pullback if I want to re-enter this, number one, or some sort of a fib level if I want to re-enter this, okay? The major zones that I could be looking at for this currency pair is, one, this zone over here, okay? But it looks as though we have already broken and retested this zone. So now I have to move down rather to my next zone, which will be somewhere around there. This will be the major zone that I'll be looking at. So provided this continues down quite sharply, expect a break and retest and catch the rest of the move down, okay? If this market is to give us some sort of a pullback at any point, let's say around there, then you can wait for your key fib level around 61.8 to 71% to execute some sells. In this specific position, or scenario rather, I can actually go ahead and put my Fibonacci in. I can see that around the 61.8 level, I have had reactions in the past as well. Okay, so provided this market actually starts reversing on Monday and Tuesday, for the major move to happen around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can actually execute further sell positions around your fib levels. Euro versus New Zealand dollar. Again, quite similar to Euro CHF that we were looking at. On a weekly time frame, we have got such a strong bearish closure over there, which is a shooting star formation. This happened. This actually took place at this double top position over here, or maybe not a double top. Maybe I should just kind of name it as a previous reversal zone and a fib level. Again, another pair that was shared. That was shared before. So I would like to see a continuation to the downside. Again, similar to Euro CHF, in these cases, I would like to go ahead and work with certain zones. The general zone that the market is at right now is a reversal zone in itself. Okay, we have seen a lot of reactions in the market around this zone. Okay, so provided this market is likely to give us a pullback, all I have to do is put a smaller scale Fibonacci in and just expect the 61.8 to 71% to be hit, and for me to take further sells on this. All I'm waiting for these Euro NZD, Euro CHF pairs is, and Euro CAD, is to get some sort of a pullback for the further sells. Euro versus the US dollar, similar to other pairs, we have actually broken below this zone over here. I'm expecting a pullback to actually retest that zone. We did get a pullback, but we didn't actually tap off the zone itself or tap off any sort of key fib level. So I would really like to see this market climb up again to tap off the zone and tap off a fib level and then continue to the downside. Okay, that's really what I would like to see. And provided this happens, we can actually come to some divergence on our MACD a little bit later on. But this would be an ideal setup for Euro USD sell positions. God knows why I have 2 Euro USD saved there. Pound Swiss franc. So with this pair, again, this was covered last week in the video. We got the head and shoulder formation. We actually did tap off the key fib level, and our entry signal was that shooting star formation right over there. So this worked to perfection, and we took some sells based on this. Broke below this counter trend line over here. Did get some sort of a pullback. For Euro CHF, GBP CHF as well, I would like to see some sort of a pullback if I want to enter further sells. Now, where could that be? Let's say this market climbs back up to retest that trend line again and then falls. It could actually give us a 61.8 level from that high to this low over here. Okay, so somewhere around there, we can potentially take further sells. If this doesn't happen, the next zone that I'll be looking at for a potential sell is this zone. This zone to be broken and retested for a potential sell down. Okay, don't worry about not having entered at the top if you guys haven't, because this, in my opinion, will be a kind of a very long-term sell. We do have a daily head and shoulder formation, so this indeed can go for 600 pips. So don't worry if you haven't entered it at the top, you can still catch about 400 pips of this move to the downside. Pound yen is currently sitting at this key reversal zone where we can see on a 4-hour time frame. We have gotten reactions over there, over there, over there, and over here. Okay, that's pound yen. However, for me to be confident in taking buy positions on pound yen, I would really need to see a clear break above this counter trend line over here. And I should probably draw my counter trend line over there. I would like to see a clear break above this counter trend line as some sort of a pullback and the continuation to the upside for me to take buy positions. I am a little bit more in favor of a sell position for pound yen, at least on an intraday scale down to this previous zone over here, where we've gotten reactions over there. I'm more in favor of a sell because I don't see any specific reason why pound should suddenly gain strength. However, the news that we have on Thursday will 100% shine some light into the matter. New Zealand dollar versus the US dollar. Let's have a look at the higher time frame. So on a weekly time frame, we did get some sort of a long wick over there. I don't really like to call that a hammer formation, although it looks quite good. To me, that's not really a hammer formation. I would like to see a smaller body or maybe even a bullish body. So I am going to be indeed remaining bearish on New Zealand dollar versus a US dollar. My current analysis for it, and if I'm not mistaken, that zone was drawn on a daily time frame. I can see a lot of reactions around the zone that I have marked up over there, and the zone is around 0.672, let's say around that price. Reactions over here, over there, over here. So I'm expecting this market to climb up a little bit more to tap off that zone again, as well as a fib level. This is potentially one of my favorite setups for this week. Okay, it looks very, very clean to me. That zone, as well as a Fibonacci level for the continuation to the downside. Definitely something that I'll be keeping an eye on. US dollar versus the Swiss franc. On a daily time frame, we actually have this inverted head and shoulder formation over here. And the neckline, it's easier to see it kind of on a weekly time frame. On the neckline that we have for this US dollar versus Swiss franc, finally we actually managed to close above the neckline last week on a weekly basis, and this week we continued further up. What we haven't got yet is a retest of the broken through neckline and a retest of the broken through trend line that we have over here. One touch, second touch, third touch, fake breakout, proper breakout. So we haven't got a retest of the neckline and the trend line. So what I'm expecting to happen is for the market to pull back a little bit, give us a retest of the neckline and that trend line over there for the continuation to the upside. Finally, gold. On a 4-hour time frame for gold, I can see that we've actually created this new lower low over here. Then the market actually ended up climbing up, potentially to retest, let's say, the trend line that we have drawn down here, or a key fib level. So this analysis for gold is actually pretty similar to the analysis we had for gold a few weeks back, where we marked off that zone over there, and we put a Fibonacci over there, and we took our sell positions around the 61.8 to 71% Fibonacci and that zone over there. So it is practically identical to what we were looking at from before. And history does repeat itself when it comes to Forex. So simply, I'm looking at this drawn zone over here, where I have seen reactions in the past. Reactions over here, over here, over here. Okay, I'm expecting that zone to be respected, and that zone does line up within my 61.8 to 71% Fibonacci. So the key kind of price that I'm looking at is 12.95 to be exact. 12.95 is a zone, is a price that I'm looking at, but please do not put sell limit orders at that price. This kind of analysis is an analysis that you have to keep an eye on, and when the market comes around that zone, for you to see if it's giving you any sort of bearish price action, for you to go ahead and execute. Now, that's all the pairs that I'll be focusing on for this week. As usual, I normally kind of wait for London session, New York session to see how the market reacts to the weekend. and see if there's a clear direction in the market before I kind of execute any trades. And I always wait for price action to before I execute any trades. I wait for candlestick patterns. So please make sure you do the same. As mentioned, I'll be sending updates for these pairs on my Telegram channel. I'll leave the link in the description. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me on my social media, on my Instagram at PipsOfPersia. Let me know what you guys think about the analysis. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Leave a comment down below. I would love to see you guys' analysis. I would love to see your view towards the currency pairs that I have analyzed over here. Have an amazing week. Please stick to your trading plan. Stick to your trading rules. Stick to correct risk management. And let's catch some pips.